trace routes, text field width, address autocomplete, markers, and much more on Google Maps. That's what we are going to talk about on this video. So let's start creating the project by using the command expo init and the project name. And here we have to choose the template. I strongly recommend to use TypeScript, but it's up to you. Project created, let's get inside the folder and open it on VS Code. And we will use these three libraries to implement all the features we'll cover in this video. So first of all, let's set up the Google Maps. Let's start with this first documentation here. And Google Maps is very simple. All we need to do is to use this command to install the library and its dependencies. So I just copy, paste and press enter. And I'll go back to the documentation, and here I'll use everything from the example. I just copy this because it's very simple, so I can just copy and paste. That's all. I'll paste it here and done. Let's remove this import, put all of this import at the top, and here I remove things I'm not using like text and status bar, and done. You have Google Maps. I will start the simulator to see if everything is okay, and to open the simulator I just type yarn iOS or yarn Android if you prefer. Maps is working, but by default we use Apple Maps on iOS and Google Maps on Android, but we can set up to use Google Maps even on iOS by doing this. So here I will import the provider to use Google, and here on map view I will use provider, and I just set up that provider there, and it's done. Now you're using Google Maps on iOS. And now let's set up the initial position for our map, and this is what I need to do. So here I get the screen width and height, and here I calculate the aspect ratio according to the screen, the delta, and basically it will set up the zoom. And here I have the initial position with latitude, longitude and delta. And to set up this on map view I just do this. Initial region, and here I set up my initial position. Just save and it's done. Google Maps initial setup is done, so let's go to the next step. The text field for places autocomplete, and we use this library here. Here in the documentation we have a couple of examples, and here's what we need to do is just to add React Native Google Maps places autocomplete. Just that. I don't think it's necessary to use expo to install this, but I will use just in case it's necessary for some reason. So I will do expo install and the library name. Let's go back to the documentation to see the example, and here's what we need to do. So we go here to the map view, and below the map view I will paste this code here. So I'll just import this one, and okay, and here we need the Google API key, and what we need to do is come to console.cloud.google.com and create account. If you don't have, create a project. So you just click here and new project. After that, be sure that you have a billing method active here, and don't worry, you won't need to pay anything for that. All Google APIs have a high code for free utilization. So, and after setup and active some billing method, come here to the APIs and services and enable APIs and services. And here basically you need to enable Maps SDK for Android, iOS, Places API and Directions API. That's all you need. After that, come here again, go to the APIs and services and credentials, and here create an API key and set up some restrictions for your key to at least prevent someone to use it for anything else. So here I have restrictions for the APIs I will use, and here I have my API key, so just be sure to don't let your key available for everyone, okay? Copy it and we'll use it in the project. You can do something like that. Here I have environments file, and here I have a constant for my Google API key, and pay attention to not commit this API to your repository like GitHub, Bitbucket or anything else. Now I will import my key here using that constant, so Google API key, and I will import it here. It's done. Google API is in place, so this component should be working. It's not on the screen, but it will be soon after we do some styles. First of all, I will use a view around this component, and I will move this component to inside this view, and now I will style a couple of things. And here I have these two styles I have to implement. So I'll do this here and input. Okay, so for the search container I will do this. So position, I will set this one to absolute. I will set up the width of the container. So width, and I use 90%. I set up the background and I use white. I set up some shadows to make it look better, like shadow color. I use black, shadow offset. Here I can move the shadow a little bit, so I can do width, and I use 2, and for height I use 2 as well. It's not like that. I just need to remove. So it's like this with just 1 and not 2 as I was using before. And also we have here shadow opacity. So I will set as 0.5 and it comes from 0 to 1. Also shadow radius, what I use 4. And these settings here, shadow, is for iOS. For Android, we have another one that is elevation. So I use 4 as well. I will set a padding for my content don't be close to the edges. I will use 8. I set a border radius for my container, 8 as well. And here I will set up a border for my input because it won't have a border. Now we can save here to see. And here we can see we have the shadow, we have everything set up, but my text input don't have a border, so it's a little strange. Let's set up a border here. So border color, I will use 8, I think it's okay. And border width 1. So that's all we need to do. Here we can see the text input, and if I start typing here, we already have autocomplete. So, oops, we don't have autocomplete because this is wrong. It's not like that. It's just this. So let's save it. And now we have autocomplete. So autocomplete is working. Now I set up my box a little better at the top. But how do I know the value to don't set my box close to the top, but below the status bar? For example, if I do it here, top to 0, it will be over my status bar like that. So that's not what I want. I could use a number, for example 40, but I don't know if this is the best number for all devices. And Expo provides an API with the correct number for that. So what we need to do is to install Expo, install Expo constants. And here we just need to import, like import constants from Expo constants. And here we can use constants dot. This is wrong. It's not like that. Okay, now it's correct. So here I have status bar height, and just save. It will provide the correct status bar height. So that's perfect. And now what I need is another field because I need orange and destination. So let's do that. But to don't keep duplicating the code again and again, I can create a component for this. For example, like this one. I'll just import. Here I have to import too. And okay, so what is this? Here I have the properties I'm using inside the input. That is the label that will be at the top of the field. And here we have the placeholder. I set this as optional. And here we have the component. And because I set this as an optional field, I have to use a default value here. And here we have the label at the top of the field. Here we have our field, exactly like our first implementation. The only extra things we have here is just fetch details that we return the coordinates of the place we select, and this is very important for our implementation. And here just a callback for our component to be able to handle these details. So below here I can just remove this one, and instead I will use input autocomplete here. And we need to set up the label, origin, and the callback on place selected. For now I will use an empty function, and we also have the destination. So I'll just duplicate this one and destination. Let's save it, and we have the necessary fields here for origin and destination. And what I'll do now is to save the origin and destination when I select. So I'll create a function here named, we can use the same name, on place selected. Here we receive the details, and the details is like this one. Google Place details are new. But as I use this function for the two fields, I will set here a flag to know from which field I'm receiving the details. So I will set here a flag. That will be a string, but I will only allow this string to be origin or destination. And fine. Now I will create two states here to save, like origin, set origin, use state, start empty, and also destination, set destination, use state, starting empty. And here to know which state should set this value, I'll do this. Const set to store my set state function, like flag equal to origin. If so, I will store set origin. Otherwise, set destination. Here I will create my position according to the details I just received. So here I set latitude, which is details dot geometry dot location dot lat. The same here, set up a default value like 0, and here we have longitude, that is the same, details dot geometry dot location dot lng and the default value. Now we have the position. I will just set this to the state using the set function. Okay, my state is not a string, but it's lat lng or new. And here I just remove the string from here. The same for destination, and it's done. So here I use the set, so I'm using set origin if the flag is orange. Otherwise I will use set destination. Another thing I'll do is to move the map camera to the place I just selected. So I can do this. I create another function like move to, where I receive the position, which is lat lng, and here I need to get the camera from the map. So first I need a map reference. So I'll do this map half, that use half, and the type will be map view, start with new. And to get the reference, I just go back here in the map view and I use half, and I just pass here map half. Okay, now I have the map reference, and here I'll just use const camera, receiving the value from map half dot current dot get camera. And here I can see that this function is a promise, so I need to use await here and also async here. And okay, we get the camera, but it can be undefined, so we need to check. So if camera, and here we can move the camera. So camera dot center will be the position I just received, and then we'll do map half dot current dot animate camera, and here I pass the camera and some settings like duration, the time it will take to move from my current position to the position I just selected. So I'll use here 1 second. Here it's done. I just need to use it here like move to, and I'll pass the position. That's all. And here we can search for some plates like Rockefeller Center. I just select this one and nothing happens because I'm not using the function I just created. I just need to copy it and use it here and also here. We cannot use like that because the function, we need to pass the flag if it's origin or destination. So I get here the details, and here I will call the function passing the details and the flag origin. The same thing here. So details, the function, and I'll pass details and the flag destination. And now it's done. So let's try again. Rockefeller Center, I will click and the map moves to the place I just selected. So we don't have any visual reference from the place I just selected, so I can use a marker here. I go to the map view, and now I'll use open and close tags, and here inside I just use like marker, coordinate, and I set the position I want the marker to show up, like origin, but I want to show this marker only if I have the origin. So I'll do this. I'll check if origin exists, and then I show the marker. The same thing for destination. So I check here destination, and then I use destination here. And that's okay. Here you see the marker, it's working. We can search another place here, like 7th Avenue. Click here, and okay, we have here, and we can see that we have the two places here. Autocomplete is okay. Let's trace the route between the 2 points. And for that, we use the last library, React Native Maps Directions. I just click here, and here we have the documentation. I just need to install React Native Maps Directions. I will copy this one, and I install it here using Expo. Not sure if it's necessary, but I will use it. Library installed. Now we need to use. Let's go back to the documentation to see what we need to do. And what we need is this component with origin, destination, and Google Maps API. I'll just copy it, go back to my code, and here inside the map, I just set it here. I just import, and I use my Google API key. Here we have a problem because origin and destination cannot be new, so we need to check. I just set the braces here and origin and destination and directions. But I want to do one last thing. I want to set a button here. I want to see the directions when I click the button, not when I select the places. So I'll do this. Here, after the inputs, I'll set a touchable opacity with a text saying trace route. Done. We just need to style this one. And here we already can see the directions, but we'll change this a little bit. Let's set a style for the button. So style button, and also for the text. So style dot button text. Okay, and here I will set button. I set the button background, so background color, and I use, for example, BBB. I think it's okay. And also I'll make the button a little bigger, so I'll set padding vertical to set up a padding at the top and at the bottom. I use here 8, for example, Let's save, and you see the button here, almost okay. Let's do it a little bigger, like 12. Better. Let's set up a margin from the top. So margin top 16. Fine. Let's also set a border radius. Border radius 4. Fine. And now let's just center the text. So button text, and I use text align center, and it's done. Our button is completed. Let's just make sure we trace the route when you click the button. So I'll do another state, like const show directions, start with false, and here we'll show directions if show directions is true, and we have origin and we have destination. And to set the show directions to true, we'll set this here in the button. So on press, and here I just do this, set show directions true, and okay. Let's try again. 2 places, and now I click trace route, and now we see the route. Let's just make this line a little better by doing this. Just come here and set up the stroke color. Here I will use 6644 and FF. I think it's okay. Let's make this stroke just a little larger by doing stroke width using 4. And it's done. Now I'll implement one last interesting thing. So we have the route, we have the 2 points. Now let's improve it a little bit by setting the 2 positions automatically to the center of the screen when we trace the route. Let's create a new function that we'll call trace route. Here we'll check if origin and destination are not null or undefined. And if so, we'll set show directions to true, and also we get the map have.current.fit to coordinates. And here I just pass all the coordinates I want to fit on screen, on the center of the screen. In this example, origin and destination. And here we also can pass padding to don't make the points too close to the edges, so we can do this. Edge padding. And here we can set up this edge padding here as a constant to be more clear. So we also create another constant for the values we use inside the edge padding. So edge padding value, I'll use 10 for example, and here we need top edge padding value, right edge padding value, bottom same thing, and left same thing. Let's use this one here, and as the key and the value is the same, you don't need to do anything else. I just save, and this function I use set here inside my button on press. Instead of set show directions here, I just call that function here, that function, and I'll save, and I click trace route again. Okay, it fit to the screen, but it's too close to the edges, so let's increase that value to 17 for example. I save and I click trace route again. The 2 positions on the center of the screen. That's perfect. One last thing we can do is to show distance and duration from origin to destination. So we do this. Here on map view directions, we can use onReady and we create a function for that. So let's call trace route on ready. And now we just need to create this function. And here we receive some arguments. So I set here args. I set as any. Here I'll just check if the arguments are not new or undefined. And inside these arguments, I will have two things: args dot distance and also args dot duration. This is the value you need to save and show on the screen. So here I create more two states like distance, set distance, use state, start from 0 because it's a number, and duration. Start from 0 because it's also a number. And here you just need to save. So set distance and set duration. So we have the two values. We just need to show this on our screen. I will go back here, and below the button I will show this information. Here I can set a new view, and inside I can set text, distance, and here I will fix the value to only two fields after the dot. So distance to fix it 2. The same thing for the duration. So here we have duration. For duration, I'll do something different. I just round the number, like math.sale duration. And here we have minutes. But we will only show this information if you have the directions. More exactly, if you have distance and duration. So I'll just check this here, like distance and duration. If you have distance and duration, and if it's bigger than 0, it will show this information here. Let's save. Sometimes when you use text, we can face this kind of problem. What we need to do is just use a different verification, like if we have these two things, we show the information. If not, we just show null or nothing. I will save. Okay, it's perfect now. So let's try again. And trace route. It's perfect. So we have here the distance, it's like a mile away, and we have 8 minutes to go from Rockefeller Center to the center of 7th Avenue. So it's done, we completed all the features, and see you on next video.